Good evening, everybody. My name is Diane DiBasella, and I am the Senior Program Director for Fiscal Sponsorship at Fractured Atlas. I
The
just want,
broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. In case you didn't just hear me saying that, my name is Diane DiBasella, and I'm the Senior Program Director for Fiscal Sponsorship at Fractured Atlas. I just want to make sure that the sound is okay and that you can hear me. So if you can use either the chat functionality or the question functionality on the right-hand side of your screen and just let me know that the sound is clear. That would be great if one or two people could. Great, I got one. Thank you, everybody. So I am recording the session. If you, are taking notes or are concerned that you're missing something or you want a copy of the presentation, I will be sending everybody a copy of the recording and a copy of the PDF slides either tomorrow or Thursday. I can send that out to you. So there's no need to request it. I will automatically send that to you. You should be able to currently see a slide on the screen that is the title slide for the presentation. It says Corporate Grants for Fiscally Sponsored Projects on it. And if you have questions throughout the presentation that come up as I'm talking, please feel free to use that question functionality on the right-hand side of the screen to send your questions to me. I might not answer them immediately, or if I'm going to cover them as I continue, then I'll hold off on them. But otherwise, I will read them out loud and answer them so that everybody knows what the questions are. So this presentation is really just all about corporate support. We're going to talk about what corporate support is, how to, message specific funders that are offering corporate support, how to find them. I'm going to recommend some specific grants that are out there for corporate support, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Fractured Atlas's grant review process. Before I jump in and start talking about corporate grants, it's nice to virtually meet you. I'm Diane DiBasella, as I mentioned. That's me in the top center of the screen. I'm the program director for the Fiscal Sponsorship Program at Fractured Atlas, and I've been working in the program for the last 8.5 years. The other people on the slide are all team members that help to support the Fiscal Sponsorship Program. On the left side of the screen is Teresa Hubbard, who's a program specialist for fiscal sponsorship. Below her is Amanda Keating, who is a program associate for fiscal sponsorship. Directly below me is Deborah Kwan, who is our membership assistant, who also helps support the fiscal sponsorship program. Above Deborah to the right is Courtney Harge, who is a program associate for fiscal sponsorship. And above Courtney, all the way to the right, is our solo gentleman, Nathan Zabidio, who is also a program specialist for fiscal sponsorship. So if you are working at all as a fiscally sponsored project at Fractured Atlas, you could be dealing with any one of us at any time. For those of you that are new to Fractured Atlas or that are not super familiar with us, Fractured Atlas is an arts and technology company, and we are a nonprofit company, and our focus is on helping to build business tools that hopefully make artists' lives easier in actually creating their work. We do this through, trying to leverage technology in order to make certain things simpler to do. So whether or not that's finding space or getting insurance, raising money, or selling tickets, those are just some of the things that our programs touch upon. The 4 core programs at Fractured Atlas are our insurance program, which helps you to find business insurance. So let's say you're renting a space, and that space is telling you need to have liability insurance. Fractured Atlas can help you get access to that liability insurance. We help you find some of the most reasonable rates out there, and we sort of help you navigate that world so that you are not getting overcharged or buying stuff that you don't need. We have a product called Space Finder. Space Finder is in 11 locations around the country, and it is an online marketplace that helps you find space for your creative practices. So whether or not that's rehearsal space, studio space, a space for having a show, you can use a Space Finder database in order to search in a specific geographic location and find a space that's right for you. Another program at Fractured Atlas is called Artfully. Artfully is our ticketing and CRM, which is a customer management tool. And what it does is it enables you to manage all of your patrons in one place, and it also enables you to sell tickets. And lastly, I run the fiscal sponsorship program at Fractured Atlas. And the fiscal sponsorship program at Fractured Atlas is a tool that enables you to receive tax-deductible donations and apply for grants that typically only a nonprofit organization is eligible to apply for. So it enables you to come underneath our umbrella and to sort of reach out to your constituents and ask them to donate, and then we issue those people tax receipts. It also means that if you find a grant or a corporate grant out there that is telling you have to be a nonprofit, that you are then eligible to apply for that grant through us. So I'm not going to go into super specifics about fiscal sponsorship. If you have specific questions about fiscal sponsorship, I suggest that you email support@fracturedatlas.org or give us a call, and I'll have the phone number at the end of the slide so that if you wanted to call and speak to somebody specifically. Sorry, somebody is typing a message to me that they are not able to receive the audio, so I'm just going to quickly chat back to her. So just hang in 1 second while I just write to her. Oh, she heard it. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so continuing on. So to talk a little bit more in general about corporate support, what it is, what the difference is between corporate support and foundation giving. Corporate support are typically funds that are available for nonprofits that sit in a corporate budget, and it's usually administered by an individual or group of individuals, sort of depending on the size of the giving program. These funds typically are sort of earmarked to go to charities that fit within that corporation's giving criteria, and they typically want credit. So they want you to credit them for giving you the money. So whether or not it's Target or it's Bank of America or it's any sort of big corporation out there, they typically want some sort of reference to that they gave to you in your materials. Typically, to get these funds, nonprofits need to look on that corporation's website for their giving criteria and their application process. Foundation giving is something that there are a lot of private foundations out there in the world that are nonprofit organizations. And some actual corporations or companies, they set aside funds that are to be administered by an independent nonprofit charitable foundation. So for example, American Express has its own foundation. They have the American Express Corporation, which is, all of their sort of banking and credit card offerings. And then they have their foundation, which is really all about giving money back and giving it to charities. A foundation can either be classified as a public charity or a private foundation. And it's a legal distinction that probably won't matter that much to any of you. But the funds available for this kind of giving come from large donations that are made by the company, by their vendors, and by fundraisers, such as, if they have like a charitable golf outing, they might be American Express might have one of those to raise money for their foundation. Many people that are both inside and outside the company assume that foundation giving and corporate giving are the same. To the extent that the giving criteria are the same, they can be the same thing. But there are some important differences to keep in mind. So, for example, legally, an independent foundation cannot make grants or donations to charities that provide a direct benefit to the company. So, for example, marketing efforts that directly lead to more customers couldn't be something that a foundation does. So the American Express Foundation could not ask you to make sure that if they're giving you a grant through their foundation, that you're promoting their products and services and telling people to go use American Express. You are completely welcome to publicly thank them. So you would thank the Target Foundation or the American Express Foundation, but you wouldn't thank Target. You wouldn't put Target's sort of like promotional materials into your materials. You can check a company's website, or you can check GuideStar, which is a resource that has a lot of information about foundations, to see if there is a 990 for a foundation, or to help you determine if one of these corporations out there has a private foundation that is giving. So if you've been on any of our other webinars in the past, you've likely already seen this slide, but it's something that I like to share with everybody as they are thinking about their fundraising strategy and where their money is going to come from. So this is a study that was done by the National Center for Charitable Statistics, and it was all about where is money coming from for the arts in the United States, and how are they getting it? Where does their money come from? And what they found by surveying large and small nonprofit arts organizations was that 60% of an organization's given budget was coming from earned income. So that's sales. That's if somebody's buying a ticket to your event, or if you are selling some type of product, or if you are offering a class where people are coming to see it. Earned income makes up the largest percent of a nonprofit's organization's budget. And after that, the remaining 40% is from contributed revenue. So that's revenue where somebody is giving it to you without any expectation of anything in return. And out of that 40%, 24% of that is from individuals. So I always stress, if you're thinking about your fundraising strategy and where you want to spend your time and your energy, that you're going to get the most bang for your buck by approaching individuals and asking them to donate. The other 16% is coming from local government, state government, federal government, and then foundation and corporate support. So that's where we're focusing on here. We're looking at who are those corporate funders out there that could help you fill in that slice of the pie, and who are potentially some of those foundations that are, being funded from corporations that could also help you. So when you're thinking about approaching corporate funders, you need to really be aware of what their motivations are for giving, because this is going to help make sure that you are aligned with their initiatives and that you're actually a good fit and you're not wasting your time on trying to apply to them or search for them. Brand awareness and exposure is something that companies are often eager to have out there. They want their brand out there. They want people to see them and to know who they are. So they want to sponsor events. And most likely, these companies have highly visible products that require broad exposure to break through the sort of clutter of everything that's out there. These types of companies would include places like McDonald's or Nike. If you have an event that attracts a lot of people, or you have a really deep network, you'll be more successful in approaching these companies for event sponsorship. Not necessarily donations. So a lot of times they want to give you products, or they want to give you, sometimes they want to give you staff. There are different ways to approach them, but it's good to think about who are those companies out there that might, if you're having a big event, that might want that kind of exposure. Secondly, they're focused on sort of the impact of their focused giving and their strategic philanthropy. So not every company sees brand exposure as the number one criteria for sponsoring. In some cases, some companies are very purposeful in their giving, and they are more concerned with the impact of their giving and not just a splash of getting their name recognized. A few examples of the types of programs that a motivated company like that you might see are such things as in-house mentoring programs that engage their employees with students in need of a long-term manner. So if, for example, there's an organization that really wants their employees to engage with a certain community, they might be interested in donating. Some corporations are interested in programs that really aim to solve social ills and not just treat them. So they're looking for solutions to really big problems that are out there. They're often focused on initiatives that do things like help teachers specifically, but not just support education. So they might want, to see if they can give supplies to teachers, or if they can actually fund specific classrooms. Nonprofits that help populations that at first seem outside of the company's interests. So that might be things like water purification projects in lesser developed countries. Examples of these types of companies include Office Max or Northrop Grumman. If you have a specific program that would engage the employees of these companies or appeal to the company's motivation to make an impact, you'll definitely stand a better chance of getting funded. There's also relationship and reputation building. So for some companies, the sort of focus of the company is all on, the handshake and making sure that that their employees are being connected to important people. So if you can invite them to meet somebody that they want to meet, or if you can introduce them to circles that they're trying to get introduced to, that can be really impactful and really to be what they're looking for. And then lastly, sometimes the motivations for giving are just that they've always done it. It is a community that they've always served. It is a need that they've always thought has to be met, and they're just going to continue to do it no matter what. So it's a good thing, though, ahead of time, before you sort of get into writing that proposal, to understand if it's one of these motivations that's guiding them, if they have a combination of them, or if it's none of them. Why are they giving? What is the strategic alliance that you can create with them to really make them desire wanting to fund your project? Make sure that you really get your message clear and concise and direct to what they want. So many corporate funders are interested in really specific social issues such as education or homelessness, or things that are not really related to the arts. So what is your civic contribution to your local community? Build your project so that it's really an indispensable program. So for example, at the Xerox Corporation, they believe in the power of education and in giving back to their community. They really want to invest in the leaders of tomorrow, and they require more than just money. They also, really want to focus on providing time and sort of resources for people that they're trying to fund. The Xerox Foundation uses their community relations program in order to really help seed innovative ideas and to find collaboration with other organizations. So, they want to see that you are connecting to these sorts of messages and sorts of things that they are very specifically outlining. And usually with corporations, there will be some sort of website, there will be some sort of messaging, either through their corporate affairs division or through their public relations department, that you can see exactly what their sort of initiatives are, and you can really make sure that your message connects to that. So, corporate grants, where to look. So the first thing you need to keep in mind is that it is very important to prospect. And this is any type of prospecting, whether or not it's corporate, foundation, or government. You need to be able to sit down and spend some time learning about the organization that you're soliciting. You should know what their areas of focus are before you pick up the phone or before you start typing anything. Who have they given to in the past? This is key, and this is sort of general for any type of funder that you're approaching, but you do need to have a very clear understanding of what they've given to in the past. It's not only to spare the funders from sort of excessive inquiries from projects that are interested in getting their money, but it's also to save you time. You should not waste your time on funders that are not going to be the right fit. It's just not worth it. Even if your proposal is extremely well thought out and articulated and written, if you're not a good match, they're probably not going to be paying much attention to it. Make sure that you do not under or overestimate the value of your brand. So companies do want to align themselves with nonprofits. They need to do this. And doing this allows companies to be seen as part of the community and as somebody that gives back. So no matter what their motivation is for giving, companies need to make their stakeholders, who are their employees or their community members, their politicians, think that they're part of something bigger than just selling stuff. So you can play a role in that, but you can't sell yourself short in underestimating the value of your project or your nonprofit and what you are bringing to that for-profit company. Not only are you bringing the trust and recognition that your project has built over the years, but you can also bring relationships that can support all of them. So it's an opportunity for you to really connect with them. It's also the thing to keep in mind, if you're not a major brand, don't sell them as if you are. That's not going to be to your benefit, and it's something that they will quickly recognize that, if you don't have a huge following, don't try to convey that as if you are. Be explicit in how you are going to help them. So is there a real value proposition for you to offer them in terms of, are you directly impacting a community that they serve? Are you bringing something new to this community that otherwise doesn't exist? Are you going to be helping to engage their employees in some way, in something that they don't currently have? Are you going to be promoting their brand? Are you going to be having some sort of events where their officers and their board can interact with new people that would be of interest to them? Think about when you're looking, who do you know? So this might seem kind of obvious, but really think about your network and who you're connected to and how they can introduce you to other people that are potentially at corporations. And I keep saying corporations as if they have to be these giant companies. You're not necessarily approaching YouTube or Google or Nike or McDonald's, but there's corporations probably in the communities that you live in that are companies that are sizable companies that maybe don't have these huge brands where they're selling these crazy products, but there might be companies that are, someplace that is providing some sort of construction service or some sort of catering service or something that is really necessary and obviously exists that you can be focused on, and looking at those companies to say, who are the people that I know? Do they have some sort of corporate giving? How can I get to the person that's in charge of that pot of money? This is really incredible to think about because there's so many companies out there all over the world that are doing a million things and that you can probably find some sort of alignment with. Just a matter of finding the person that has the keys to whatever type of corporate philanthropy that they're offering. Don't give up. There are tons out there, and I wouldn't try to focus all of your time and effort on the major corporations again. If you find one or two major corporations that are a great fit and a great sort of alignment with your goals, then that's great, and you should definitely go out and apply to them. But there's also something to be said for thinking about focusing more locally, focusing smaller, focusing on the companies that maybe nobody's ever heard of, but ultimately that might drop $1,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 your way if you make the case that you guys are a good fit. Sort of continue on where to look. You should be focusing on local professional service outlets. So you should find those that have a focus on civic and community contributions. These can be places such as banks. Banks are great on a regional and state level. There are tons of small independent banks out there, and they often have some sort of community-directed initiatives where they're trying to impact change. They're often looking for a public profile or access to new customers, and in general, just to spread goodwill. Another area, sort of in the professional service outlet, would be to consider private wealth management firms or places like investment franchises. insurance agencies, law firms, and accounting firms. These are all places you shouldn't be afraid to approach to ask for funding. A lot of times, too, if they're sort of independent companies, there won't even be a grant process. It'll really be more that you would be asking them for a donation, and they might be saying yes. Look at national chains. They often have discretionary store-based giving budgets. So those include places like grocery stores or retail stores, department stores, restaurants. I mean, you name them, any sort of like major restaurant chain out there, Chili's, Applebee's, I can't even think of more, McDonald's, all of them have some sort of corporate giving programs. And then you look at the department stores. Macy's definitely has a corporate giving program. Nordstrom's does. And the grocery stores, a lot of the grocery stores, it's more about the individual branches. So let's say you are in a state that has a Kroger. Kroger, definitely the store manager is actually in charge of making the donations. But if you can connect to that store manager or get a letter to them, you might be able to get some donations from them. Major sport franchises are something to consider. They often have some sort of community giving program, so it's just a matter of digging in, trying to figure out on their website where that information exists. In-kind advertising from media sources can be a great way to sort of boost your budget without actually getting dollars, but that can be an incredibly impactful way of sort of broadcasting yourself to a new audience without having to pay for it. And then lastly, I just want to mention matching gifts. So matching gifts are something that we process hundreds of thousands of dollars in matching gifts for our fiscally sponsored projects on a daily basis. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the year, but we process the actual checks each day. And what matching gifts are is if, let's say, you have a good friend who works for Apple, and Apple offers all of their employees something called a matching gift opportunity. And so if, as an employee of Apple, I donate to a nonprofit organization, Apple, as my employer, will match my gift. So if I donate $100, Apple will match my gift and also give $100. In some cases, corporations actually match on a greater basis than 1-to-1. So there's some corporations out there that give 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. So if I give 100, they might give 300. It's important to keep this in the back of your mind when you're doing your sort of individual donor outreach, is to make sure you're telling your individual donors that if you are a fiscally sponsored project, you are eligible to receive a matching gift. Make sure that you can also, if you know people that work for major corporations, don't be afraid to ask them, because often it's a benefit that they get that if they don't use it, they lose it. Okay, so I have 2 questions I just want to answer. Somebody told me that the link to the Foundation Center is out of date. I will look at that. Thank you for letting me know that, and I apologize that I did not update that. Somebody else asked, do companies want to diversify their donations, or do they usually stick to their type? It depends. I think that a lot of companies and foundations, they set their priorities and their objectives for what they want to give, and they do typically stick to those, but that doesn't mean they don't change. So if you find a corporation that you think, well, no, I'm not a good fit for this, you might want to put it on your list to check again next year, because maybe they've shifted. Maybe that last year they were focused on the environment and the arts, and next year they're going to be focused on social justice in the arts or something like that, and you happen to have a social justice project. So, just keep that in mind. I wouldn't recommend, if you do not fit with what their type is in terms of, what they're looking to fund, I wouldn't recommend spending your time trying to reach out to them, because it's not going to be the best use of your time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that are out there that have programs. Bank of America, which I've already mentioned, they provide philanthropic support to address needs vital to the health of communities through a focus on preserving neighborhoods. They focus on educating the workforce for 21st century jobs, and they are also interested in addressing needs such as hunger. They also have a sponsorship program where they support the economic, social, and cultural life of the places where they live and work. So that is super broad. Bank of America has a ton of information on their website about the types of activities that they're looking to give money to. The Staples Foundation is looking for grants from organizations that fit within its mission to support nonprofit organizations with programs that provide job skills and or education for all people, with a special emphasis on disadvantaged youth. Grants are awarded 3 times a year, and they're a place that you could look at. Staples also offers store donations, which they're usually focused on companies that are engaging in education and youth-focused projects and events. You can go to their store in your area and speak with their general manager about how they'll support your community organization. It's totally at the discretion of the store manager, so that's one of those cases that you need to think about. Whole Foods is interested in focusing on health and human services, education, environmental preservation, hunger relief, the arts, and animal compassion. Each Whole Foods market has specific budgetary constraints, and they can only provide a limited number of donations that are requests that are received. But that's something to keep in mind. If you're near a Whole Foods, you can reach out to them. Costco has giving guidelines for each specific warehouse. So again, that's a place that you would want to check out a local Costco to see what they're offering. I'm not going to go through every single one on this list, but this is a starting list of some large national corporate giving programs that you could look up in your own time and see if they might be a good fit for your sort of funding needs. In terms of regional corporate giving programs, I mentioned Kroger earlier. They actually donate millions of dollars each year, and they do such things as financial contributions through their foundation. They have a gift card program that they give out gift cards, and they also offer support to grassroots community programs. They're interested in advancing diversity, children's health and well-being, and hunger relief. The organization must be located in a community that a Kroger customer is served or lives and works in. Dollar Bank Chain is an organization, a company that has a long history of involvement in programs that benefit the southwestern Pennsylvania and northeastern Ohio regions. They supported such organizations as the Three Rivers Arts and Film Festivals in the past, and they're definitely connected to the arts throughout that area. The EMC Insurance Foundation places an emphasis on enhancing the quality of life in central Iowa. They are interested in donating both time and money, and they currently support the Des Moines Symphony and Des Moines Playhouse. So again, I'm not going to go through every single one on this list, but it gives you an idea of places to start. If you are on the West Coast, Bank of the West is a great place to start thinking about, approaching. They have some specific information on their website. If you are sort of regional but sort of mixed all over the country, I know Con Edison is a large funder of the arts. Time Warner is also a large funder of the arts. So these are just a couple places to keep in mind. I noted on the bottom of this slide that if you are trying to figure out who a foundation or a corporation has given to in the past, and if they have structured themselves as a foundation, you can look up their 990 which is their tax filings, and you can look this up on GuideStar. And when you look up their 990, you can sort of scroll to the back of the 990 to see who they've given to in the past, and it will give you a list of everybody they've given to in the past so that you can actually see, oh yeah, this is sort of similar to the type of project that I am. Maybe I am a good fit for them. I had 2 questions. Somebody asked, so if we know people in large companies, is it better to go through that person or get the information using them as a reference? I personally think it's always best to go through that person. They might come back to you and say, I don't have a connect. If the company's huge, they might say, I don't have a connection to the community affairs department or whatever it is that sort of does the giving. But it can't hurt to try to reach out to them and say, hey, do you either have an introduction that would be helpful to me, or can I reference you when I reach out to them? Somebody else asked, do corporations support individuals with a fiscally sponsored project? Absolutely. Corporations, more so than foundations in general, corporations don't have a lot of questions about fiscally sponsored projects. They tend to, if they see that you have an association with an IRS determination letter and can prove that, that Fractured Atlas is going to handle the money for you, then they don't ask too many questions. So in general, when you are applying for grants, and this goes for both sort of foundation support and corporate support, if you find corporate supporters that you're not sure what the process is to approach them, what I would suggest starting with is a letter of inquiry or a letter of intent. And it's basically a full proposal in short form. You shouldn't be sending a sort of blanket one to everybody. It should really be specific to that corporation, telling them why you're a good fit for working with them, showing them that you have done your homework and you understand who they are and what they're supporting. This typically would be about 3 pages long, unless they're asking for something else. It should include the sort of general summary and description of your work. You want to mention who the project leaders are. You want to give them budget information. So how much is your total budget? How much have you raised to date? And how much are you asking them to give? Those are 3 key points that need to be included anytime you are communicating with anybody and you are asking them for money. So again, that is, what is your total budget? What is the amount that you've raised to date? And what is the amount that you are asking them to give? Those 3 pieces of information are critical in helping them to understand the complete picture of what you're trying to do. You need to put in your time frame. So when do you need that money by? When is the actual work going to take place? When is the money going to be spent? And then you want to talk to them about your the sort of objectives. What are the outcomes? What are the deliverables of this project? What is ultimately the end result? And how are you going to evaluate whether or not you were effective in doing that? That can be really one paragraph when you're writing a letter, an LOI. It doesn't need to be, super in-depth at that point, but you do need to give them an idea that you are understanding what your responsibilities will be once they give you the money. If you are, invited to submit a full proposal, or if they are telling you, go ahead and submit a full proposal, the first thing you need to do is just follow their guidelines. If they don't have any, I would stick with the LOI as a starting point. If they do have them, just make sure you're doing what they ask you to do. If they're telling you they want a 5-page proposal and that's it, you should not send them more than 5 pages. If they are telling you that they want letters of reference, or if they want a full budget, if they want work samples, whatever it is they're asking for, you need to send exactly that. A full proposal sort of includes any combination of the following things, but a multi-page narrative is sort of a extended version of the LOI where you're going into a lot of detail about the exact project. A project budget is specific to the actual project that you're applying for. And then an organizational budget is something that if you are a company that it shows sort of like your annual cost to operate for the entire year. You might need to put in artist bios, a board list or a staff list. Of course, if you are not a 501c3, you likely don't have a board. Fractured Atlas can provide you with our board list. They might want to see, past income and expense reports and proof of systems that can sustain the level of required reporting. So how are you going to track the money that they are giving you and be able to show that to them later on? And then anything that's required in terms of your fiscal sponsor. So, funders ask for all sorts of materials from us. Sometimes they want an IRS determination letter. Sometimes they want a audit. Sometimes they want a 990. Sometimes they want a board list. I could go on and on. We can provide you with any of those documents. You just need to give us enough notice and to send us a copy of the proposal in order for us to be able to give that to you guys. Somebody asked, how does one answer how to measure if the work is effective? So this is something that you need to think about. How are you going to analyze your own impact? Are you going to do a written survey at the end of a show where you give everybody in the program some sort of really brief survey? Are you going to, send a survey by email to everybody that has bought a ticket to your event? Are you going to conduct, one-on-one interviews with, let's say, 5% of your patrons to find out really what they thought about your work, how your work has influenced or impacted them? Are you going to be tracking the number of attendees that are visiting your exhibition or that are coming to a specific event that you're hosting? Are you tracking the hits to your website? Are you thinking about how many touch points you have with people that are interacting with your work, and what those touch points are, and how you can really think about, is there a way to build evaluation into this? There's a lot of different methods for evaluation and measurement. So you don't need to do all of those, clearly. Really, they just want to see that you're thinking critically about what your impact is and if the work is effective. So you could really, even just doing one or two of those will show them that you're thinking about, the full cycle, that you're not just producing this work, putting it out there and saying, I'm done, that's it. You want to show them that you've thought a little bit about what the end result is for the user or the person who is experiencing it. Somebody asked, for an organization that is just starting out, how does one navigate the income and expense reports requirement? So that's not always a requirement, but when it is, typically you would want to at least provide them with a budget if you don't have any past income and expense reports. If they are, sort of demanding this, one thing that we've done with some projects, in most cases, what they're looking for is your income and expense report. But if you don't have that, if you are brand new and all you have is a budget, Fractured Atlas will provide our income and expense report in combination with your budget with a note that states, Fractured Atlas is ultimately the legal entity that's going to be responsible for managing these funds. And this is our income and expense report. And here's the projected budget for the project that will be ultimately benefiting from this money being donated. And that typically works. That typically satisfies that requirement. Somebody asked, I know that we have to have some of these letters reviewed by Fractured Atlas. Can you talk about what we have to have approved in relation to these LOIs and proposals, please? Sure. Thank you for asking that. Fractured Atlas does require 10 business days to review all grant materials and sort of actually all written materials that are asking somebody to give money. If it's a letter, just an individual appeal letter where you're writing a letter to an individual, we only require 5 business days. But for anything that's grants related, we do require 10 business days. And what we ask that you send us is the entire narrative and the budget. We do not require the sort of additional materials. So we don't need to see your artist bios, or if you have letters of support, or if you have a staff list or things like that. We really just want to see the sort of proposal that is the narrative and the budget. If they've asked you to complete some sort of application, so if it's some sort of form with 10 questions on it that you have to answer, we would like to see that. So those are all of the materials that we need to look at. And what happened, or if you're writing an LOI, we'd want to just see the 3-page LOI. And what happens is we review it, and we are looking at it for a couple of things. First, we're looking at it to make sure that you've accurately represented your relationship to Fractured Atlas. So we ask that you include 2 sentences. That's called our standard text for grants. And you can find that in our program manual or on our website. And it's just 2 sentences that sort of legalese to explain what our relationship is. Secondly, what we're looking for is that your ask amount is appropriate. So, typically a funder does not want you to ask for 100% of your budget. And since Fractured Atlas is going to endorse this grant application, we want to make sure that all of our projects are, being appropriate in what they're asking for. A safe ask amount can be anywhere from 5 to 50% of your budget, but it depends on really what that funder has given in the past. So if you're applying, let's say, to the Target Foundation, and Target typically gives grants of $3,000 to $5,000, and your annual budget is $5,000, you probably might not be a good fit for them because the grants are, slightly too large for fitting in that sort of below 50% of your budget range. Lastly, what we're looking for in your LOIs and your grant proposals is that it's clear. We're looking that you have explained to them what your project is, that we're not confused by anything that you're stating in it, that there's no typos, that there's no spelling errors or grammatical errors. We don't do copy editing, so we won't give it back to you marked up, but we will tell you there's 5 typos on page 3 that you should, we'll tell you specifically where they are, but that you should pay attention to. We'll also, if you have had to complete an application where they asked you really specific questions, we'll make sure that those questions are clear and understandable, and we'll give you feedback on whether or not we think you can make them stronger. So our goal is really to help you get the funding in that grant review. And then also what we do is you just let us know what materials you need from us, and we'll respond, sort of with our feedback, and we'll go back and forth until it's complete, and then we'll send you all the materials that you need to finalize the proposal, and you'll send everything to the funder. Somebody else asked, you mentioned you could provide 990s if we need them. Is that a 990 for Fractured Atlas or for the individual organization? That's a great question. It's a 990 for Fractured Atlas. So all of our fiscally sponsored projects are included in our 990. We don't file individual 990s for each project, but we would provide Fractured Atlas's 990. Somebody asked, is it all right to make reference to the Board of Fractured Atlas on the project website? It's not really appropriate since they're not your board. It's more if a funder is specifically asking for a board list in conjunction with the other materials that are put together explaining the fiscal sponsorship relationship, it would be okay to include it in that example. But I wouldn't reference the Fractured Atlas board on your website. Somebody else asked, what % of corporate funding does Fractured Atlas require? I'm not sure that I understand that question. If you could rephrase it, I'm just a little unclear. But as you rewrite it, I am going to just go on to the next slide. So I just talked about this. I guess I don't need to go over this slide, but we need 10 business days. We'd like to see the narrative and the budget. And I talked about everything that we are looking for in the proposal. Lastly, there are a few books out there that are great resources if you are new to writing grants and you're trying to figure out, how to make sure that you're doing it well. The Only Grant Writing Book You'll Ever Need is one of my favorites. The Foundation Center Guide to Proposal Writing is great. It's clear. It's concise. It goes chapter by chapter through how to put a proposal together and really helps you flesh out how to do that. I will also say that when writing a grant proposal, while I've said that you shouldn't, use identical LOIs or grant proposals for every single foundation or corporation, you obviously will have boilerplate that you reuse and repurpose for each one of those. You just want to make sure that you're adding the sort of unique connection to that funder into the LOI and really making sure that you're being clear about knowing who they are and why they're a good fit for working with you and following their guidelines as well. And lastly, I just want to put a plug out there. We offer webinars every Tuesday evening from September through May. So next month will be the last webinars that we offer until we start again in September. The reason we take the summer off is because a lot of times we find in the summer months that at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, most people are, trying to enjoy the summer months rather than sitting on a webinar. But these are just some of the webinars that we offer. We also have one that is focused on budget building. We have another that is focused on sorry, I'm blanking for a second, on government grants. We have another that is focused on evaluating your project. And there's one that is on how to get monthly pledges or monthly donors, sort of repeat donors that'll give to you over and over again. And next month, we are going to have a webinar on connecting artfully with your fiscal sponsorship and how to use them really effectively together. So there's no need to email support@Fractured Atlas. I am going to email all of you a copy of the presentation slides and also a recording of the webinar. So please don't worry about emailing and asking for it. I will automatically do that. And if you have any questions that are not answered tonight, I'm going to stay on right now and answer more questions. But if you have questions outside of this that you would like addressed, please do feel free to email support@fracturedatlas.org, and we can definitely address those. I also realized that our phone number is not on this slide. Our phone number for anybody who is interested in it is 888-692-7878. And I just sent that to all as the answer to a question, so hopefully everybody can see that. So I have about 6 questions that are waiting for answers that I'm going to read off. And I just want to, before I start reading them and answering them, I just wanted to say goodnight to everybody. We have 5 minutes left, so if you're not able to stay on while I answer these questions, thank you so much for joining the webinar this evening, and I will send out the PDF of the slides as well as the recording of it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to chat with you more in depth about grants or if anything in general related to fiscal sponsorship. So these are a couple of the questions that we have right now. One is, what fee does Fractured Atlas take from any funded fiscally sponsored project? Our fiscal sponsorship fee is 7%, so we charge 7% on all donations that come in through the fiscal sponsorship program. Somebody asked, is there a free online resource that outlines corporate foundations and their philanthropic interests that you can recommend? That would be awesome if there was. It's more sort of cobbling together information from different resources. So in terms of foundation information, if a corporation has a foundation, that is going to be in the Foundation Center's database. The Foundation Center is the go-to resource for everything related to grants, and that is the first place that I would start. Outside of that, Again, what you really need to think about is who are the foundations that, the corporations that potentially you might see yourself aligned with. So are there corporations out there that you just in general admire and you think, wow, I love what they're doing in terms of, the products that they're putting out there or the way that they're promoting themselves? And make a list of all of those. Start from there and then start digging in on their websites to see where they offer, sort of community resources. Do they have a corporate affairs division? Do they have a community education area where they're trying to, connect with their community? It does require a ton of research, but there's not just one list out there, one resource that lists them all. Someone else asked if I have any recommendations on how to navigate the Foundation Center's free search function on their website. So the Foundation Center's free search function on their website is okay. It's much better if you pay for it, to be honest. If you are unable to pay for it, there are a couple of ways to access the sort of paid version for free. So you can access the paid version for free by going to one of the Foundation Center locations. And there are 5 in the United States. I know that there's one in New York City, there's one in Atlanta, there's one in San Francisco, and I'm sorry, but I'm drawing a blank on the other 2 locations. But if you go to their website, you can find out where those are. And if you go to one of their centers, their librarians are amazing and will help you figure out how to use the system. So I would definitely recommend doing that if you have the ability to. There are also a number of organizations that are connected to the Foundation Center that give you free access. And they used to be called cooperating collections, but the name has changed. And it's not cooperating collections. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I will email everybody the name of it when I email the slides and the PDF tomorrow. But the cooperating collections, or whatever they're called now, are typically at libraries or at colleges or at different nonprofit organizations, and they have over like 550 locations around the United States. So you can go to one of those and use the sort of free, you can use the paid version for free. The paid version has access to all of the grants that are included in it. And when you're using the sort of different fields in the Foundation Center, it's sort of hard to talk about it without showing you. But I would start with searches related to the geography. Always have your geography listed in there, and the type of funding. So I think it's if you are doing a capital campaign, if you're looking for operational support, if you're looking for project support, plugging that in. And then the third form that you need to make sure you have completed is the sort of subject matter. And you can do really broad ones that are just like arts, or you can do more specific things like water conservation, or you can do more specific things like Fractured Atlas, we look at art service organization. But you can try a different sort of plug and play of different keywords in those 3 different fields to make sure that that you're getting the best information. Somebody asked, is there an easy place on your website to look for Fractured Atlas specific grants? There is not. Well, first of all, Fractured Atlas does not offer any grants. We only, provide fiscal sponsorship as a means to get access to other grants. We do, on a monthly basis, publish a blog post that mentions upcoming grant deadlines. So if you look at our blog, and you'll see on the right-hand side of our blog that there are tags for keywords. If you click on the tag for grants, it's going to pull up all of the grant lists that we've ever published related to upcoming deadlines. Somebody said the Foundation's descriptions of the types of projects they're seeking to fund is often very general. Is there a resource, either a book or website, that provides more specifics? If they are very general, then that is okay. I think that, the best resource for you to look at is their 990 to see who they funded in the past. So that is really going to give you an understanding of if you find 10 funders that like are generally funding the arts and they don't provide any more detail, and then you go onto their 990 and you pull up the list of everybody that they've given funds to in the past, and you realize that, oh, they've only funded theater companies. When they say arts, they only mean theater. That can help you figure out more specifically. Or if you pull up their 990 and you see that they've only funded social justice organizations, but all of these social justice organizations had some sort of art program, then you know that that's what they're funding. So that's probably your best resource for trying to figure out more specifically. Somebody said that they didn't get the last webinar. If you are interested in participating in any of the webinars, they are live on Tuesday evenings, but we also do record them. So if it's not emailed to you and you wanted to get one of the previously recorded webinars, please email support@Fractured Atlas and let us know which webinar you'd like to hear, and we can email you a link to it. Somebody asked, is it helpful to contact foundations and or corporate giving groups for insights before putting a package together, or is that discouraged? I always encourage people to contact foundations and or corporate giving programs ahead of time if that is offered. So, you'll find that there are some foundations out there that don't have a phone number, don't have an email address, state things on it like, please do not send questions. So if they're any of those, obviously you can't reach out to them. But if they offer, contact us with any questions, it is a great idea to give them a call, send them an email, have a list of questions prepared ahead of time of what you're trying to find out. And you can ask them questions like, I noticed on your website that you mentioned that you support the arts. Can you tell me more about the foundation's interest in supporting the arts? Is there a specific community within the arts that they're interested in impacting? Are there specific outcomes that they're looking to have delivered? Come up with questions that are going to start a conversation and a dialogue that will help them remember who you are. And that can be important because if you're calling and you're speaking to a program officer or somebody on staff that is sort of managing the grant process, if you can help establish a relationship ahead of time with them, that can only increase the chances that they're going to speak favorably about you when the time comes to actually put the proposals in front of the board. So somebody said for the last webinar they participated, but they didn't receive the emailed version of it. If you can just email support@Fractured Atlas and say that you didn't get whichever webinar you're missing, we can email a copy of it to you. Sometimes our emails go into people's spam folders, so you might want to check your spam folder to see if it's in there. But otherwise, we can email it to you if you just request it. Okay, everybody, it looks like those are all of the questions. So thank you again for calling in and participating in the webinar and for asking so many great questions. I really appreciate it. And I hope that this was helpful and that you participate in some of the other webinars going forward. So have a great night. Thank you for sending your thanks. Take care.